Hour number 2, Prater in the Ballgame, Idaho Sports Talk. Appreciate you guys. This is our video segment, so you can see the inner workings, the inside of Michael Forrest Prater's office. He's broadcasting from home today. I'm in the rowpaint.com studio. Just go to our YouTube channel, give us a subscription, and you are on your way, Prater. Austin Bolt, what a story this is turning into, and man, that must have been awesome for him. Remember this, in 2020, the COVID season, Brian Harsin, then the coach, played Austin Bolt as a true freshman. He saw a little bit of game time, and his first catch comes like 4 years later, 3 years later. His fourth season of football was able to grab that ball, and hopefully the first of many, right?
What a crazy story. What a crazy story. And we heard Andy Avalos talking earlier in the show about one step away where he got that stiff arm out. Maybe he stepped on that line and he could have just tucked that foot in a little bit and maybe got a touchdown out of that. That would have been the beautiful reward for what this dude's been through. So, yeah, we've been following him for a long time, waiting for him for a long time, been frustrated by him for a long time. But I can promise you the frustrations that we felt as fans is nothing compared to what he's gone through, getting himself healthy, going into that Oregon State game last year, going into the locker room at halftime. And then on that opening second half kickoff, things just went hell. And it's been a bad 14 months for Austin Bolt. Ballgame, the fact that they marched him out for the media today, he had his, I guess it was his second press conference at Boise State, but learned a lot, and it was good to see him out there happy, healthy, and smiling and talking about football.
Prater, I was excited when I got the email today, like we all did, saying Austin Bolt media scrum today. I was thinking, perfect. I love this. I was looking forward to catching up. People don't realize this. We can't just go up to anybody and start talking to them. There's a process. We have to ask for permission, get permission granted, and then we can move forward with the interview. Here is Austin Bolt talking earlier today about being back and catching his first college pass.
For me, it's a pretty big blessing. The injury I had was pretty significant. Everyone that was in my corner, kind of, Avalos, Miller, my family, just made it a lot easier for me to come back and, make a good impact for offense. It felt very good just, putting all the work to kind of get back in the running shape and figuring stuff out to kind of make a big play for us back in the game Saturday.
There you go. I mean, that's just exactly what you wanted him to say. He didn't seem too excited, but I don't think he's much of a rah-rah guy, and he's been through so much. It was just probably a big relief to catch a pass and feel like a football player again.
Right.
Let's take you back to that Oregon State game last year, guys, and I'd forgotten about some of this and went and read some of this backstories. I didn't understand the detail. You're going to hear some detail here that's never been talked about before, but here's Austin Bolt talking about that opening kickoff, Oregon State, the second half, the left leg. Austin, what the hell happened?
So when it first happened, I actually didn't know I was injured. I had all the adrenaline going. So I tried getting up, and that's when I kind of felt my leg carve in. So that's when I was like, what just happened? So I think it was JL and Tubner were actually standing above me. He's like, get up. And I was like, I can't. So they JL looked down, and he's the one that called in the strength staff. So after that, it was kind of everything was kind of a blur. I had a lot of adrenaline going. I didn't know what was going on. Avalos, I remember him coming up to me and kind of just trying to talk it out with me. And then the medical staff did a really good job kind of getting me in the cast, with the least amount of pain possible, getting me off the field and having surgery the next day.
You will hear this, and Austin Bolt today, that's who that was speaking. He mentioned Andy Avalos probably 10 times about how he was their first guy in his corner, essentially after mom and dad. And I know there's a lot of stupid stuff flying around there that players aren't liking Avalos or whatever, and that might be true in some cases. I took it that is anything but true in the case of Austin Bolt, Prater. He seemed to think that without Andy Avalos, maybe Austin Bolt quits playing football altogether. Did you kind of get that today, listening to Austin Bolt talk about Avalos like that?
Absolutely. He mentioned him 3 or 4 different times, multiple times, actually, maybe even more so than that. And absolutely a fan of what Andy Avalos is doing. So you're right. There's all kinds of emotions about what's going on in that locker room right now. But I think Austin Bolt, the one thing I took away from this interview was the appreciation for where he is right now and what he's been through. And certainly Andy Avalos played a big big part of that. When you recruit the local football star,
Yeah.
you have to make sure you do everything in your power, even when things go south that are not in your control and medical injuries are not in his control. You have to do everything you can to kind of protect that experience. We're going to talk more about Austin Bolt and his role with this football team. I think it's promising. I mean, if there's ever a time for Eric McAllister to leave, with Prince Strawn developing and with Austin Bolt kind of backing him up at that position, I think good times are ahead, and we'll touch on that tomorrow. But here's one more quick comment on the surgery before we kind of dive back into his head about how he's dealing. But this is Austin Bolt talking about the complications and the recovery 14 months ago.
Recovery was a long process due to the fact that, I'd get somewhat clear, then like my leg would just swell up, like right where the break's at. So we just kind of have to tone it down and kind of like ease into it again, and then it kind of swell up again. So there's a lot of things. They were just kind of just saying like my bone wasn't really ready for me to have that much force running down on it, like on receiver, planning out like routes and stuff. So we just kind of got to listen to my body, and finally my body was able to take me cutting and running full speed again. So that's when we kind of gave me the green light to slowly moving back into the offense.
It makes me think, and Andy Avalos does not talk about injuries and don't even bring it up, but I wish, and maybe if I ever talked with Andy off the record, in this particular case, it would have been nice to know what Austin Bolt was going through. He said something along the lines, Bolt did, that his left thigh ended up being as small as his forearm. Like, we didn't know. Remember, Prater, Austin Bolt's not with the team. Austin Bolt, he's on the roster, but he's just not out there. Remember the spring game? He was just MIA. We thought he might have been AWOL. It would have been nice, I think, for maybe Andy or something to say, hey, at least give us some data about what the kid was going through. I almost felt bad today, Prater.
Yeah, I agree, and I felt that too when he talked about that leg getting as skinny as his forearm. He also mentioned 3 to 4 weeks of bed rest. I mean, that's we certainly didn't know about that. I didn't know that. And when he disappeared, I know we did some sniffing around. I know JP's got some connections to the family, and was able to talk to the family a little bit and not dive too deep into the information. But we knew that it was a struggle. We knew that things were going bad. We knew that there were setbacks, lots of setbacks. But the complicated process of what he went through with that bed rest and his leg just disappearing before his eyes and everything else that he went through, ball game, that's a tough deal.
It is, man. And this is Austin Bolt again talking to the media today. Let's transition over to kind of the mentality, how tough you have to be. Austin Bolt talking about just how tough mentally this whole thing was on him.
At the beginning, I had the right people in my corner. I had I'm from here, so I had a lot of people reaching out, a lot of ex-football players reaching out too. So it made it a lot easier, but, it was still a struggle from, being able to play any sport and every sport I wanted to being bed rest and not being able to move really my leg much. So having my family, my parents, Coach Av, Mr. Dickey, those two were, huge for me. They're always checking in on me, telling me that I'm going to be back out there someday. Like, having those two guys, Coach Miller is always checking in on me, the whole team. So, having this big brotherhood that we've always talked about, like, they really showed up when I needed the most, when, I was, down about myself about, the injury, if I'm ever going to be able to play again. So it was, really nice having everyone around.
In ball game, you asked in the press conference the one question that was the tough question that needed to be asked, and coming off the mentality, coming off the details that we learned. We all sit there and we stare at Austin Bolt. How could you have possibly gone through that? And your question specifically was, Austin, have you ever had moments of doubt during these last 14 months?
It wasn't a perfect, I wasn't like always positive about it. There's definitely some times where it's like I'm out there trying to run around and, I wasn't able to get full speed without it like feeling like my shin was like about to break again. So it was definitely discouraging sometimes. But like I said previous, Avalos was always there. My family was always there. Coach Miller, Jeremiah Dickey, he was always there. For him being, an athletic director, not really so much involved. He was always there every game telling me, like, keep your head up. Like, we're still here for you. It was always I had a little doubt, and then everyone around here would just bring me up and keep on encouraging me to just keep pushing through it. Like, it's gonna happen when it's ready. And, like I said, it's not our plans, it's realistically God's plan. So, I'm clear to go now, and it has a good role to make a big play for the offense.
Yeah, and I know, Jeremiah Dickey's bulletproof in this town, but Austin, you heard Austin reference that. Apparently Jeremiah Dickey was instrumental in his support for Austin Bolt, Prater. Just a good guy, and you hear stories like this, and everybody's killing this football team right now for being 4-5 and whatnot. Moments like this, local kid with Austin Bolt and what he's been through. I don't know, man. It makes you a little more sensitive, in my opinion. I was really glad we got to talk with Austin Bolt today. You?
Yeah, absolutely. It was really cool. And the one question that was asked is connecting the dots here. He's a local player. He's been going to BSU football games for a long time. It's been a rough couple of weeks, and we dove into a lot of issues today or yesterday. We're going to dive into the quarterback issue at 5. We're going to dive back into the wide receiver room tomorrow and try to figure out exactly where Austin Bolt fits in all this. But you guys were able to ask him today at the press conference about the type of season that Boise State is having from his perspective. A local kid who's been sitting in those stands as a fan for 10, 15 years. Here's what Austin Bolt says is going on with Boise State football right now.
I've been watching football since, we've been going to games, tailgating out here and stuff. So, it's not the exact place we want to be, but, all the games we've been in, it's been close games. It's not like we're not playing we've been putting up 30 points. It's just, 1-point games, some couple score games. It's nothing like we're not playing Bronco football. It's just things haven't fallen our way. So, we can't head our heads down and, keep going down. We just got to keep playing Bronco football, and hopefully, some stuff happens and we can make it to maybe a Mountain West championship if, things fall our way, or if not, just win out the rest of the season and get a bowl game and move on to next year and have a good season next year.
There's Austin Bolt again with the media. Let me just tell you this, Prater. I was at practice today, and Austin Bolt was abusing the Boise State secondary. I saw 3 or 4 catches over the top, making guys miss. Prater, I'm not blowing smoke. Austin Bolt lit it up at practice today. It was almost like, and I hate saying this, I was like, oh, Austin Bolt is treating this secondary like opponents treat this secondary, but he was terrific today. So we'll see if it translates, but what a great local story. And JP's just loving this, Prater. Austin Bolt is JP's hero.
And he should be, and that's a good hero to have. I would say this to both you knuckleheads, though. Temper your expectations, because I can see you right now, Ballgame, wanting Austin Bolt to catch 30 passes a game, lead the nation in targets. JP jumping up and down with his pom-poms because Austin Bolt got 2 catches.
Yeah.
Austin Bolt is still a backup. Austin Bolt was still going to be eased into this. We heard Andy Avalos saying we still have to take care of his body. We'll tell you tomorrow that Prince Strawn is going to move into Eric McAllister's ex-wide receiver spot. And Austin Bolt is going to go from 3rd string in that ex-wide receiver spot to backing up Prince Strawn in that ex-wide receiver spot that Eric McAllister is no longer a part of. So I think Austin Bolt will be a target every single game from here on out as long as he stays healthy. I think Austin Bolt will continue to catch 1, 2, 3 catches. But I don't think Austin Bolt's going to come out there and all of a sudden be a wide receiving superstar, a powerful impact player. For the time being, he's going to fill a very important depth role on this team. The wide receiver room is we started this season thinking the wide receiver room was one of the deepest in this entire conference. Now all of a sudden they're a heck of a mess, and Austin Bolt is very much needed.
Yep, no question about it. That's going to be a fun segment tomorrow, diving into that receiver room. This is our video segment. It's brought to you by the Dollar Loan Center. You'll see these locations all throughout Idaho. They've been funding loans for 25 years. Visit don'tbebroke.com and apply. You need a loan? Visit don'tbebroke.com. Week 9 is done in the NFL. I'm going all quarterbacks this week, a quarterback edition of Johnny Ballgame's NFL Penthouse and NFL Outhouse with commentary from one Mike Prater. Let's get on with it, JP. Prater the Ballgame, KTIK the Ticket.
From the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Studios, this